Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. You, me, us. You know, freedom, liberation, one and the same, constant. How do we merit that as human beings? I spent some time listening and watching some of the historic channels and a lot of these programs having to do with the wilderness, wild animals, teaching by showing us some of the experiences that these wild animals go through. Some indicate how similar they are to one another and to even life itself. And we find that there are some amazing things that happen. For instance, one of the most amazing things that get my attention is what they do for survival. And I think survival, one of the requirements for all living things is that we eat. Somehow that's connected with everything. You gotta eat to live. And when I see these animals out in the wilderness with the things they'll go through, maybe like a tiger, a lion attack, maybe a buffalo, and they go through whatever they have to go through, and this has become a meal. And if you've watched some of those history channels, you know what I'm talking about. And it's a way of survival. And you notice one thing that's coming amongst all of those situations. Once any of them find themselves in a life-threatening situation, they'll do any and everything they possibly can to survive. They struggle to survive. They holler, they scream, they kick, they yell, turn me loose, I gotta get out of this. Every last one of them seem to do that. And yet, some of them have to succumb. And this, my friends, is how the other ones live. I watch big snakes that swallow other snakes, snakes that swallow alligators and deers. And I mean, it's amazing how you can watch these snakes being swallowed by frogs. Oh, whew! And it's all about survival. And even still, I was watching something the other day called a mummy. Now, I never heard the term before, never had any idea what it was. It's something kind of looked like a skunk but bigger, and supposed to be agile, quick, and bad struck teeth and claws, and will attack things that's bigger. I've even heard they're small, but as far as this documentary went, they would attack things as big as a dog and take them out and consume them. I mean, just eating, and they got to survive. So it seems like it's a constant thing. You get a belly full, and the next period when you're not hungry, you're spending it looking for your next meal. And there it is. You see, think about the little mice and things. Whew, everything just surviving. Now, if you want to think about what hell must be like, think about that. You're being eaten. As I was talking about this mummy, he was chasing a rabbit. This mummy, this is the thing I was just talking about a moment ago, was chasing a rabbit. He finally got the rabbit tired, worn out, so he sat down for a rabbit meal. Now, usually, according to this documentary, these guys, the mummy, uh, they hunt in pairs. They might work together on a possible meal, or one might do the attacking, and then that one rest, and the other one go in, and all working together to tire the meal out. And so I was watching this documentary where one had the rabbit was overcome. They were milling. Well, this one was milling on, the other one was waiting, and while he was waiting, a weasel attacked it and did the same thing. Had a mummy meal, and I'm thinking, wow, man, this is crazy. I think about in people's lawn, you know how you have a gopher or something might start digging holes in your yard and things that you'll go through to make sure that these gophers get out of your area. You got an ant bed. People go and get scalding water and throw it on the ant bed. And I'm thinking all these ants probably trying to do is just have a family. You know, they don't mean no harm, but this is what they do to survive. And here they are. And here you come with your hot water and scalding them and doing all these things. You ask yourself sometimes, why is this? What's going on that makes this so crazy? But then you don't have to go that far. For instance, I think about all the great things that humankind have done, how they've come here in a form. Well, you know, they still got the same requirements as the ants, as the squirrels, and as the deer, and as the alligators and snakes for survival. But they come here supposedly with something unique. Something unique. Well, I guess we can call it unique. Even the ants, they're doing their thing. To them, what they're having advancements, I suppose. Probably not similar to anything that we do, but perhaps can and maybe serve the same purpose. You know, they all got their thing going on. They, just like we do. Their systems work just like our physical systems, our biological systems. They do the same thing. So everything is going on. I can see some connection there. And so I'm thinking, these animals have to go through these changes. And here we are as human beings. Here we are. We can make spaceships. I mean, this is advancement. We've come from, you know, living in tents and just like the ants. We living in tents and cages and dumps and wherever we can find a place to lay down, we'll look for the better place. But then time and all this new stuff coming through our minds and the abilities that we have allowed us to advance. And regardless of how much we've advanced, we would love to say that we've advanced beyond the ants, we've advanced beyond the snakes and all of these kinds of things. And yet we take on some of the same kinds of things that the snakes and these wild animals do. That is, we treat each other like we got to kill them. We do kill them. We destroy them. We don't have any love and affection for them. We do to one another the same kinds of things that we do to the ant. That bed that's in our area that's messing up what we call cool. We do the same things to the gopher, the rabbits that might come around. They got their reasons, and it seems to me that there should be a better way than being an enemy to these who are just trying to, I don't know. But it seems that there should be a better way. I think if I was a rabbit, I wouldn't want to go through what people would send rabbits through when they don't want them around. And I know why you don't want them around. You don't want them around because many of them are fearful. You don't want snakes around for sure. And those kind of things, no. You haven't been taught about that. We haven't been living about bringing that other stuff. Some of us don't even want a dog unless he's outside. And some of us can't do anything unless we got a dog. And so here we are, caught in this maze. How do we work this thing so we can find some comfortableness? How can we work this thing that we can find some joy in our lives? How can we work this thing so we don't have to be dog eat dog? We don't have to be the marmot trying to find a meal on a rabbit. And yet we find ourselves eating just like the marmot. The only difference is that meal is raw. And most of our meals got heat on it. And that's supposedly to make sure that bacteria is killed so it doesn't mess with our innards, because we don't have that protection. But we're still doing it. And yet there are other animals, I'm flying around, ladies and gentlemen, I'm skating around, surfing around, I want to get to a point, that lives off of plants, off of fruits, off of nuts. They're designed to live off that. And somehow history indicates that at one time, humans lived off that, are living off that, and will not eat an animal or flesh of an animal. Some won't even eat fish because of life. And I heard that some won't even eat the vegetables or the fruits. I think they call them breatharians. I was watching television years ago, and I heard it, and there was a guy came on being interviewed talking about being a breatharian. Hadn't had a piece of steak, a piece of meat in 10 years. Got doing some meetings and going around advocating. Got a few disciples who did the same thing for quite a while, and then they fooled around and touched a piece of steak, and that was it. Well, you know, all of these kinds of things happen. So what am I trying to wrap up to, ladies and gentlemen? I'm saying that where death exists is where it's supposed to exist. I look at death as being an answer to something. I don't know what it is, but it is an answer to something. Death is something it appears that nothing, no anyone wants to experience. Nope, get away from me as far as you can. And yet death is there waiting at any moment to grab you and to eat you alive. Even going into war, when you find people fighting to kill somebody else, they are not really fighting they're fighting to stay alive. Their threat, the message that they got is that you got to kill or you will die. Some of them say you will die by the enemy, or if you don't die or put your life on the line for us, then you're putting your life on the line because we will kill you. Ain't that something? It's all about this death thing. And it just keep playing this role. And when I bring it back to our society, when I bring it back to America, when I bring it back to a little broader than that, you know, let's throw Russia in a little bit. You know, because they're doing a little fighting over there. They're doing some killing. Not in Russia, but because they got the power to step outside of their borders and do it to somebody else. And that somebody else have no power to fight back to the area of the enemy. Oh man, that's like the moment grabbing the rabbit, or the weasel grabbing the moment, or the alligator grabbing, or the system grabbing people that are left out. It's all crazy. And so when you think about it all, nobody wants death. And yet people use death as a way to go forward. The threat, the fear, because you are afraid, because I will do it, you better bend. And many people, well, all of the world is bent. Because of standing that back up and stand back up, golly, the world in here, down here, what I have said is hell, is rises up and show its colors. Because there are limits in the process of hell being ruler, king. There are limits during periods of time that others are permitted to go. And it's only for the preservation of the hellishness, of the deception that you're living. And it is only an indication to the author of deception what adjustments must be made to bind you deeper, like what's going on right now. In the United States of America, you got truths which most folks have come to know what to accept as truth. And now you got lies that are being championed as alternative truths, to the degree that it is being empowered by systems that are operative for the benefit of the overall powers that be. Which, when I say overall, I'm talking about the overall powers of men who are absent the truth knowledge. And so, based upon what their aims, ambitions, and goals are, this is what keeps us tied into this. And in order to get out of that, you got to step outside of the box. You got to step outside of the box by going back inside of yourself. There's something inside of yourself, my friends. When you came here, every time you got hungry, nobody had to tell you. You were telling people, I'm hungry. And it's the same thing today. When we go through stuff, what we're saying is we are denied something that we require. And we know it's possible because others got it. But we don't. And many of us know why. So we're asking for us to come together and let us do this. Now, most of us are going to say, no, we're not going to do that because we don't believe in anything else. But see, when I come to you, I try to tell you this. I try to bring it to you. You can listen to my other videos so I don't have to go into details. But you remember the story about when there were some demons who had the possession of of a man, and he was going to cast the demons out. Now, right now, I can't recall the exact story. You probably can, as I refer to parts of it. And when the demons were going to be cast out, they asked Jesus to cast them into some pigs. And I was thinking about, why do they want to be cast back into pigs? They ain't cast out of humans, because when we do the things that we do, that's the same old snake stuff. When we hate, when we are racist, when we are bigots, that's the fruit of being against the road of life, against the staying in the lanes of life, if against the truth and righteousness. And so by doing these kinds of things, it keeps us connected with the snakes in an evil kind of way. But when these guys says, well, don't, throw us back into animals, throw us back into pigs, they're saying, see, that's where we come from. They knew that's where they come from. And by coming from where that into humankind, they had a knowledge. But where to be sin, I don't know what we're going to have in any place other than that, but they asked for that. So I'm saying, not knowing any more than just what I said about that, which was nothing, what I'm saying is this. The plan is this for, oh yeah, let me tell you one other thing. How much time? Well, if I can say this in 2 minutes. You got people who were able to receive the knowledge about electricity. And the world can now see in the dark because light is available. We got people that were used as tools to give us information that gave us what? Well, we call them telegraph, but forget all that. Just say modern stuff like jobs. Let's talk about Bill Gates, computers and watches and stuff like that. That advanced stuff. We got the planes and all, but it's all happening, right? And we call these people geniuses. Now, these guys were able to receive the information. We didn't. The rest of us don't know nothing about that. We got scientists who are going out there in the stratosphere doing stuff. And hey, they talk, we just close our ears because we don't want to hear. But these are people who got that ability to receive the information. And amongst those who are there into that stuff, whatever that stuff might be, they are receptive to it. So this is basically what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, about me. See, I have heard all kinds of things about life, how to be life to be beautiful, because I've always wanted it to be beautiful, not just for me, but I know what beautiful meant to me, but I wanted it to be just as beautiful to everyone else, because then it's good. And so that has always been my dream. I've always wanted it. And now that I can look at it and see the picture of it, it's just as clear to me how that can happen. The mechanics that are at play for that to happen, as it was for Bill Gates with the computer, or Jobs with the watches, or with whoever has come up with anything. It's just that easy for me. But knowing watches and knowing all of those stuff, it's not that easy for me. And so what might be easy for me about this peace and prosperity and freedom and joy of life and the fulfillment of our dreams is not that easy for you. I mean, you get on your knees and pray for it every day and every night. People all over the world are asking a power superior to themselves for the same identical stuff. Survival requirements. Food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare. These are the most basic things for survival. Transportation and stuff like that, that age, the infrastructure is an expression of what you're coming from. All and so on and so forth is what you're doing for. Now, we all pray for those kinds of things. But all of our training has been that it has got to be at odds with one another. Because our training came from the wilderness and the wild jungles of survival, eating up everything, killing one another, trying to live. And it's still in us. It hasn't left us. Now, spiritually, we say Church is supposed to be able to cleanse you from that, let you know your connection with that ugliness, so that you can make a decision. Do you want to be still connected with the ugliness of snakes and rattlesnakes and bears and stuff that's out there eating one another? And they got to live now. But do you want to be connected with your living the same way they're doing theirs? If you do, then you're going to keep on hating and lying and cheating and stealing and creating racism and bigotry. You're going to keep that stuff going. But if you know that the requirements to eliminate this stuff, to make sure that all your needs are met, is to recognize the truth. The truth is that all the resources used to do all of the things that men have ever decided to do or determined to do came from a power they couldn't see, can't touch, can't feel. Invisible. It came from God. All of the resources that's ever used to do anything on the face of the earth came free. God. It came free. It is free. God. Now this would become funny when you can't see this. It messes me up sometimes, but then when I realize that you really can't see it, it just becomes kind of comical. It comes from God. All the needs, the wants, and desires, these represent the people collectively. Not necessarily having the same wants and needs and desires, but he got wants, needs, and desires. And in that mosaic of things that God has designed, everybody's needs, wants, and desires can be met. And how? What makes it so easy, so simple, is the way that Master designed it. That everyone that benefits from it play a part in the process of creating in such an abundance that no one can say we out. Your gift that you came into the world to contribute, that is your career that will give you your greatest joy. Knowing what it is, doing it, your life is always on cloud 9. And house and all those other things, it's just like breathing. You don't worry about breathing. You just breathe. You don't worry about your heart beating. It just beats. And when you got to use the bathroom, you don't worry about something inside of your system tells you. It works just like that. So when you're really living in your joy, then your houses and food and clothing and education and health care and transportation and all that other stuff, it's just like breathing. It's just there. Why? Because you're taking care of the business for which you were created. You come out of the mindset of a snake and an alligator, from an ant to a bee to a human being that's been set free. Lord God Almighty. Now, don't you think that's worth living for? Even if you got to die to live? Think about it. Dying to live. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying goodbye for now.